Hi, welcome to Books with Lexi. In this video, I'm going to be reading 3 new release horror books. If you're new here and you like this video, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any content from me in the future. So the 3 horror books I will be reading are How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, A History of Fear by Lucas Dermis? I should have been prepared for this, but I can't look it up because I film on my phone. Anyway, here's the picture. Lucas. So sorry. Uh, and then The Nightmare Man by J.H. Marquardt. Dear Lord. Anyway, I'm really excited to read these books and share my thoughts on them with you. So I will be starting with How to Sell a Haunted House. Hello, I am 36. What are you doing? I'm watching you. Lay down, buddy. I am 36% into How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, and I do think this starts off a little slow. This very heavily deals with the loss of parents and grief that comes with that, and dealing with those kinds of things happening afterwards. At the very beginning, our main character's parents both die at the same time, so her and her brother, who don't get along, they don't talk to each other, have to settle everything and do all of that. So that does take up a lot of the stuff at the beginning. There's a character that I love. It's a super side character, but like I was laughing at that character. There's been a scene that like was so funny to me, and yeah, I'm not obsessed, but I'm liking this more than I was liking my best friend's exorcism. I think I'm also liking it more than I was liking Horror Store. I'm not sure about Southern Book Club's guide yet, but this is at the moment in my top 2 by Grady Hendrix, so I'm really excited about that. I am doing sprints. My goal is to finish this tonight. The Late Night Crew, this was their unofficial book club pick for January, and they invited Kaale and I to join, so sprints are on Kaale's channel, and my goal is to finish it tonight. So I'll be wearing this the whole time. I'm having fun chatting about it in the Discord and talking on sprints. Yeah, that's it. So far, there's not a lot of horror, but I do find that that's kind of the case with his books generally. I don't feel like there's a lot of horror that happens super early on. So I'm having a good time, and I'll talk to you again once I'm about 2/3 in. Hello, it is 9 o'clock and I am 67% into How to Sell a Haunted House, and there definitely has been some interesting things that have happened. Sorry for this dumb squeaky chair. There has been a huge tone shift. The beginning, it feels very serious and more sad and deals with a lot more grief horror and some like family stuff, and the second, third definitely still like has tiny aspects of that. It does have more of the family trauma in it, but it also gets into some weird stuff. Now I can't tell you what those weird things are because spoilers, but if you do know anything about this book, if you know why this book was postponed, it was originally supposed to be released in June or July of last year. Like Grady Hendrix said a reason that he was postponing it. That stuff is, it's interesting. There's been scenes where like I was like so there was one scene where I was sitting here, I was like freaking out. I am really liking it. It feels like a 4-star for me right now. I like a lot of the conversations in here, and I know a lot of people on sprints aren't loving it as much, but I think I'm a little more into grief horror than the rest of them. But I do agree that there's like a big tone shift and that the pacing is a little weird, but I've been finding it funny the whole time. I've been enjoying it. It is now more like typical Grady Hendrix. And I do wonder if the tone shift is because of like him writing part of the book initially and then changing things. Like, the whole synopsis used to be completely different on Goodreads. It apparently dealt a lot with COVID for a while, and a lot of that is rewritten. This is not a COVID book anymore. As of right now, I don't think it's my favorite. I am still really liking it. 4 stars feels right. I am enjoying it more than My Best Friend's Exorcism. So this could become one of my new favorite Grady Hendrix books, depending on where it keeps going. It's already weird, so like I'm very curious what else is going to happen. Where I stopped, there's a lot of things going on, so there's a lot of possibilities. I'm excited to see what happens, so I'll talk to you again later tonight when I'm done. I finished How to Sell a Haunted House during the sprints, but I just didn't update you. But now I have my copy of How to Sell a Haunted House. So I like this copy more, and I ordered it before reading, and I'm glad that I'm gonna end up giving this 4 stars, because that would have been really upsetting if I bought this and then read it on its way to me and then hated it. So yeah, I have the UK edition because honestly, I just like this one better. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I think that the pacing was a little off for me. I did enjoy both parts of it, but it felt like 2 separate books. So I think this could have been 5 stars if maybe the first half was maybe the first third and it transitioned a little better into the crazy stuff happening, because there's a scene in here that is quite the time. So so that's all I have to say about this. I can't really give you any more details because spoilers, but there's a unique character in here. This is definitely grief horror. It deals a lot with like family trauma, like different things within that. I liked how the book wrapped up. I enjoyed the like final twist of things. This was like really sad and also nuts, and I really enjoyed it. This is my second favorite from Grady Hendrix. My ranking is now Southern Book Club's Guide to the Top, then How to Sell a Haunted House, then Horror Store, then My Best Friend's Exorcism. But this is the same rating that I gave Horror Store. I just like this one a little more. And then My Best Friend's Exorcism was still 3.5 stars. I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I've read any other books of his. I definitely enjoyed this. I'm glad that I read it. I had a lot of fun on sprints. So thanks to the Late Night Crew for inviting me to that. Okay, on to the next book. So I am, I think, 40% into A History of Fear. Sorry I didn't talk to you earlier. I just kept forgetting I needed to vlog, honestly. It says an eerie literary suspense debut tracing the harrowing downfall of a tortured graduate student who's been nicknamed the Devil's Advocate for his sensational crime, murdering a classmate, then claiming the devil made him do it. So we are following Grayson Hale. He's an infamous murderer in Scotland, better known as the Devil's Advocate. He was a grad student and he killed one of his classmates and he claimed the devil made him do it. So later he is found hanged in his prison cell, and he has written a manuscript promising answers. So at the very beginning we get an editor's foreword, which is pretty cool, and this is from the perspective of Daniela Barclay, who is the editor. So then it looks like this, and this is Grayson's confession. So it's in first person because we're getting his account, and it feels like it's the present day, but obviously it's not. So we are getting that, and then at the end of his chapters we get these editor's notes with different exhibits and transcripts and things like that. There are even some handwritten parts in here. So it is really cool. The end, I think, of every chapter does have an editor's note. So I think the format and setup of it is really unique. The story itself is pretty slow. It does say literary suspense. So I don't know at this point if it could be 5 stars, but there has not been a point where I'm considering DNFing. Like, it's feeling like it could end up being either 3 or 4 stars depending on where it goes. There is a lot of religious stuff in here, which I guess makes sense because of the whole devil situation. We are getting his past, and he came from a pretty much cult. His father was a cult leader. So yeah, I don't know if the editor is trying to just like add extra information or prove something either way or whatever, but it's a super interesting concept and I'm liking it, but I'm not loving it. So I will talk to you again a little later. It will be today. I do have to finish this book today because I have an in-person book club. We still meet online, but it's 2 of my friends and I that like we met in person. So I have them meeting for that tonight. So I need to get to this. I'll talk to you once I'm further in. Hello, sorry you can hear the pet water bowl over there. I don't know why it's so loud for some reason. I guess it needs cleaned, but yeah. Anyway, I'm 74% into, what is this book called? A History of Fear. I don't remember if earlier I said how I was feeling about possible ratings. And I feel like I said maybe 3.5 or 4, and that's still feeling correct. Probably more towards 3.5. The format is super interesting and the ideas in it are interesting, but it is really slow. The main character is like nothing to root for. Okay, so the plot itself is super interesting, but the execution of the plot is not super interesting. And the main character is not like a fun character to follow. And not in a way that he's like unlikable, so I hate it because like unlikable characters, that's fine, that doesn't bother me. But like he's kind of boring. Also, there are a lot of homophobic comments in here, and they have been challenged sometimes, but they just feel random. I'm not exactly sure the point of them. And then there's just been some other random things that like they don't specifically bother me, but they just feel like they were thrown in just so the author could like put his opinion on things in, which like is fine, but it feels very much like the author like I want to put this in my book, not that it's specifically like the characters. So nothing really new to say. That's my quick update. I'm gonna finish it. So I'll probably talk to you later tonight after my book club discussion just so I can like maybe talk about some things that I might have missed or give other perspectives. So I'm not upset about this, but I'm not loving it. So I actually finished this a while ago, but I finished it right before my book club meeting with my 2 in-person friends, and I just didn't have time to update you. And then, quite honestly, I forgot because I kind of wanted to put this out of my mind. I'm going to end up giving this 2 stars. I think the formatting of this is super interesting. I do think it's a lot slower than I wanted. I think it would have done better, maybe a little shorter. But my main issue with this is that the ending felt really offensive to me. I don't think that was the intent. I think it was trying to say one thing that is very much referenced throughout the whole book. In my opinion, the author was not as clear as he thought he was being with what he was saying, and it ended up saying, I think, the opposite of what he was trying to say. Like, everyone in my book club felt the same way. There's 3 of us. But yeah, it was, I don't know, this is a really slow one. It had a lot of interesting concepts in it. I think the formatting of this was really, really cool, but there's not a lot of plot in here. I think because of that, it should have been shorter, and I think the ending just needs to be really rewritten because I really don't think it was trying to be offensive, but it just like ended up being that way. And there are plenty of reviews that don't feel the same way, so this is just my thoughts. But yeah, 2 stars for me because the ending and the reasoning for things was very not it. I guess quick spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like it was very homophobic. The reasoning for things ended up being explained by saying like, oh, he's gay and he wasn't able to express that because of other things. So yeah, didn't love that. I think it was trying to say something else, but I don't know. Okay. So 2 stars for me. Wouldn't really recommend, but I might read from this author in the future because I don't think that they were meaning to be offensive, but I think the writing just was not the writing was not clear enough for the intent, and I think that people could really take this the wrong way. So 2 stars. Listen. I am 35% into The Nightmare Man by J.H. Marquardt. Marquette? I think it's Marquardt. Something like that. Anyway, I'm obsessed with this book. Like, are you kidding me? I am having such a good time reading it. So, okay, let me pull up the synopsis because I don't want to spoil anything for you. So, I went into this literally knowing nothing. I don't know how I found this book. I didn't read the synopsis ever. So I was shocked by even some of the things in the synopsis. So this is horror. It is also kind of reading like a thriller. So if you like blends of those genres, this is great. So we are following our main character, Ben. Ben Bookman is an author. He is a horror novelist, and his book recently just came out called The Scarecrow Man. The Scarecrow. So he has a weird past. There's this place called the Blackwood Mansion, and he is the heir to it. His grandfather owned it, and there's like a weird past with that as well. So it is the night of his book birthday, and things start to go wrong. The story that he wrote is coming to life. So listen. I can't. Okay. So the other perspective we are following is Detective Mills. He could retire, but he has like such a high success rate for solving cold cases and like cases in general that he doesn't want to retire. So he works as a cop, and his daughter also works with him and as a cop. So we're getting her as a character as well. But at the beginning, we are following Detective Mills. He arrives at a crime scene, and he finds a family butchered, like chopped up and stuffed inside cocoons sewn of corn husks. Are you kidding me? And the corn husks are like attached to barn rafters, and they're just hanging there like cocoons. And that's how the opening of Ben's book is, like, ah! So then another family is killed in a similar way with the cornhusk cocoon situation, and it's looking like a serial killer, which is the case in his book. So they are thinking that it could be him or someone else using his book to like commit these crimes. But like I think the first crime was committed before his book was released. So like I mean we know that there are like arcs and stuff like that. So there are people that would have read it before the official release, but like he seems very suspicious. And then he has a weird past. There's something that happened in his past that like makes him seem even more suspicious. He was involved in a different case that Detective Mills was working on. So he's very suspicious of Ben in general. So there's the plot of like the murders and the cornhusk scarecrow stuff. And then Ben and his past, there's a lot to do with that. And this house from his grandfather. He wrote the book that just came out in this series in the house, and he doesn't really remember writing any of it. So there's like just strange things. It is so interesting. This is definitely a horror that has thriller and mystery elements in it, which I am loving. This book is feeling like 5 stars already. It's felt like 5 stars from like the first few percent, which is very rare, but usually when that happens, unless things go terribly wrong, like that ends up being the case, that it ends up being 5 stars. So like I am so freaking excited because so far, well, I don't know when this video is getting posted, but at the time of filming this, I've only had one 5 star book this year and I've read 22 books. So like I would love for this to go well for me. I'm really obsessed with it so far. Also, normally I don't really love like detective perspectives. I enjoy them, but they're not my favorite thing. But this also has an interesting twist in it as well that like there's some weird things going on and I'm here for it and I cannot wait to continue reading, but I keep putting it off because I'm one, scared I'm not gonna end up loving it. Really? And two, I just want this to last forever. So I'm going to update you again once I'm 2/3 in, hopefully with still very good news. But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really loving this. I am currently 67% into The Nightmare Man, and I am slightly bummed because I'm not loving it quite as much as I was before. And I think, honestly, the reason for that is the audiobook, actually. It is one narrator for the whole book, and I think that that is really doing it a disservice. It's super easy to miss when it switches. Honestly, at this moment in time, I cannot tell you if there's like chapter headers or anything. It does say a chapter number, and then you don't know what perspective you're in at first. Watch that be wrong, and I'm just really dumb. So my main issues with this is just that I am kind of confused whenever it switches chapters. So we are getting the two different like character perspectives, and we're also getting past storylines from the one character. I still do think this could end up being 5 stars. I'm really loving it, but I desperately wish I had the physical book in front of me to follow along with. Target is currently having a sale, and I almost bought it so that I had a copy because I was loving it so much. I was like, no, I'll just wait until I finish the audiobook, because I thought I was going to finish it the next day, but that didn't happen. So I kind of wish that I would have bought it so that I would have had it to read along, but you know, that didn't happen. So I am suffering a little for that. So I really, really would recommend the physical book along with the audio if you want the audio. But the story is super interesting. I cannot wait to see how this wraps up. Like, the idea behind this is so cool. Like, I'm obsessed with it. And I still think that even with like this slight confusion, this is going to end up being one of my favorite books so far this year. So I'm on Patreon spins right now, and and I said I would leave my camera on whenever I did this update because I made Michelle do it too, and she just looked and laughed. So okay, that's my update on the book. I'm almost done with it, and I'm really excited to see how it ends. I will be finishing it tonight, but I say that a lot and then don't, so we'll see. I'll talk to you in a bit. So I have finished The Nightmare Man, and this like really pains me, but I think I'm gonna give this 4, maybe 4.5 stars. I'm still deciding. So I was obsessed with this book. I mean, you know this. I was like literally screaming about it at the beginning, and then in the middle I was having kind of like conflicting thoughts. I was still really liking the concept, but I wasn't liking it quite as much. And by the end, I just feel like there was a little too much going on, so things got a little muddled. I think that if things were a little more simple, it could have been a little more effective. So I just can't give it 5 stars. Even though I want to, it's just like not 5 stars. I 100% will pick up from this author again. I thought the concept was incredible. I enjoyed The writing, I think that it was like really creepy. There were some violent things in here, but I think that added to the story. Didn't bother me at all. I just think that there was a little too much going on in this, and that's the only reason I didn't love it. But it still is one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. There is a slight chance that if I reread this physically, I might give it 5 stars. So I think maybe towards the end of this year, I do plan on doing some rereads. And this will probably be one that I prioritize because I want to read it physically. I do want to get myself a copy, but I'm kind of waiting until the price goes down a little bit. It's not terrible, but you know, I'm not like so obsessed that I need it immediately. So yeah, I did really, really like this one. I think I'm probably going to give it 4.5 stars, just because of my enjoyment and the amount that I was enjoying it at the beginning. I really thought this was going to be a new like all-time favorite book, which is why I think I'm a little more disappointed by it than I would have been if I was just like thinking it was a good time the whole time. So yeah, I want to reread, will read from this author, but I really, really think the physical book, or having the physical book at least to follow along with, would make this a better reading experience, and that's how I personally plan on reading it the next time. I'm still really glad I read it. I haven't seen anyone else read it. I think this was very effective as a horror book, and I really enjoyed it. So I have now finished the 3 books that I'm reading for this video. How to Sell a Haunted House, 4 stars. A History of Fear, 2 stars. And then The Nightmare Man, 4.5, I think. Because I enjoyed The Nightmare Man more than How to Sell a Haunted House. So that's what I'm going to go with. Overall, this was very successful. I've read 2 of my more highly rated books in this video. 1, not so much, but we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts on them, or if you're going to pick them up now. And I'd also love to know your most anticipated horror books. I plan on continuing doing these throughout the year whenever there's books I just really want to read and don't have plans for videos. I really love doing this. It gives me the opportunity to be creative with certain videos and also still get to all of the books that I want to read. If you've made it to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I have links for everything in the description, including Instagram, Storygraph, and Patreon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!